You'll get it.
Always learning, always learning.
Yeah, during COVID, I had to learn to Zoom. It's all our meetings. We
Yeah.
get home with it via Zoom. That was fun.
Zoom and Teams. It's the way the world works now.
All right.
Welcome everyone to the Economic Development Committee meeting for Tuesday, February the 24th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. First item of business, call to order. Ms. Mathis, if you would please call roll.
Chair Ottenberg,
Here.
Vice Chair Preston,
Here.
Councilmember Albers,
Here.
Councilmember Bockert,
Present.
Councilmember Farmer,
Here.
Councilmember Crayons,
Here.
Councilmember McCutcheon,
Here,
Councilmember Trottier.
He mentioned to me he might try to Zoom in this evening, so I don't know if he may be running late or just keep an eye out for him. Thank you very much. Second order of business, approval of the minutes from the January 2026 meeting. Are there any questions on the minutes before we proceed? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Made by Councilmember Farmer, seconded by Councilmember Bockert. Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, minutes approved. Moving on to public comment. I see no one in the back of the room. Director Vunich, do we have anyone online for a public comment?
We have someone on an iPad, so if you have any public comment
That's
related
Grant.
to this.
I do have a question.
It is Grant.
You need to practice for public comment.
He's practicing. Let me zoom in.
Chair, all attendees.
All right, very good. Thank you. Moving on to discussion items. First item on the list here is an update on business changes and other business news. So for that, I will turn things over to the city administrator.
All right, couple updates tonight. Did want to follow up from last month. Aldar Yemeni Cuisine, it does seem like they are now open with hours from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week. So welcome them. We are currently speaking with the owner to plan some type of ribbon cutting ceremony as we get into the spring. The hope was that they could get moved in, settled, and have some things fixed up before we would proceed with that step. So they're hoping to shoot for a spring opening. There actually was talk to try to coincide with our Village Green opening too. So that they're looking forward to that. Seems like a great spot. Business owners very excited.
They haven't changed the sign.
They have not. That's why they're not wanting to do a ribbon cutting just yet. Technically, you can go in and buy something right now, though. They are technically open.
They were there the other night. I saw them in there.
But nonetheless, they are working through that now. Department of Planning obviously processing the sign side of things, but we will get them processed and then we'll have, once everything's up, they have everything moved in and ready to go in a suitable fashion for them. We can go forward with the ribbon cutting and we'll reach out to everyone. All right. Then also, we did want to give a quick update, a couple of these. We do have an interest. This kind of goes to just the preliminary side. But we did have Exit 11 Coffee Show interest recently, and now we have another interested party that's somewhat not a coffee shop, but putting forth some type of cafe concept. We have not met with them just yet. But one of the owners of the Three Kings Public House, if you looked into that restaurant, is interested in some kind of concept in Wildwood. Very preliminary at this point. We had planned to meet with her, but there were some, she had a setback where she was not able to meet with us last week. Nonetheless, we'll meet with her in the coming weeks, and hopefully the original intent was to have some type of establishment on the Village Green itself. We explained that that's going to be a public facility and that it wouldn't be able to accommodate that type of use. But then it opened up a couple conversations that she's had with a couple of the folks here in Town Center and also the new apartment building too. So we're going to be speaking with her. Obviously, there's a couple opportunities with the SID, the bonds being redeemed, so not having those assessments hanging over them. Those sites are becoming a little bit more attractive and we are seeing a little bit more activity in the SID area. So interesting enough, and if we could get something like this, it does seem like their concept could be pretty well received. We'll provide updates on that as we meet with them. I want to also note that Good News Brewing will be coming back. This will come back to the city council at some point for the construction of a pavilion. that is gonna be added to the back end side of the building. And the idea behind it is to have a space, they make a lot of their revenue in the winter months from the renting out the facility. So a lot of the times they will have someone come out, it's either rainy or it's really cold outside, and then they're not able to, keep that reservation. The idea behind this is to have a space that would accommodate all weather. It would be a kind of a pavilion type structure, but they could have that plastic liner, if you will, with the heaters put into it where it could operate during the winter months as well. One note was that Mr. Tripp is excited to, partner with us on some of these Route 66 activities. They're actually making a commemorative new brew for Route 66. It's gonna be a California Normal. So I just wanted to point that out. They're going through the process now. And we're hoping to see them proceed forward. They are gonna take a little bit more time to move forward with their plans for the actual phase 2 and phase 3 of their build. The winter, getting through the winter is gonna be the first step, and then going to put a pavilion up is the next. Then they'll start looking at potential phase 2 and 3. Just want to note too, Central Bank is operating out of the new bank building. It's been about 10 years since we had a bank operating out of there, but it's good to see. Their former location, they've officially moved it on their website too. They're operating out of the old PNC Bank building. They put up the permanent signage on the front end, and I think they're working on another sign as well. And an interesting thing I'm trying to work out with that business and also the owner is who owns the monument signage at 100. So it's something we're looking at now. It does seem that it's technically on their parcel. And what ties in with this as well, we found this out concurrently, is that the building itself was owned by Ches for a good amount of time. It's been 15 years that entity, that LLC had held the rights to both that building and the 2 parcels that make up that building. Nonetheless, we were recently notified that now it's being owned and was sold to 922 Town Center. We don't know if this entity is affiliated directly with the bank. We're trying to confirm that now. Nonetheless, it does seem like, once again, the activity is kind of spurred up because of the SID not having assessments after 2026. So nonetheless, just some additional activity, but great to see them here in Town Center, and they very well do seem like they're wanting to partner with the city on a couple things and support us in any way they can. So always appreciative, and do appreciate Central Bank. We'll look to do maybe some type of ribbon cutting with them as well in the spring. Nothing much on the LaSalle property, but did want to just keep that there because once they do come up with a proposal, it would go to DZRC and would go through a traditional review process, and that is the Hecto Group that's currently got that property under contract. Just a quick update on the window signage review. We do look to have that back to you all at the March meeting with an idea for what we can do to allow for businesses to keep an operational signage in the window that could indicate operational hours, but nonetheless not having signage that is lighting up internally and also maybe focused on some of their products or whatnot. Just wanted to note too about the Route 66 Centennial. We did meet with about 15 or 16 business owners, 30 people overall. Came in, we'll talk about that a little bit later tonight, but did see a lot of businesses come out, especially from the restaurant side, to try to take advantage of Route 66 for promoting their business and partnering with the city this year. Cattails Lodge, they opened back in December. We are hoping to do a ribbon cutting ceremony with them in spring as well. So we've got 3 on the board right now. Tentatively, we'll come out with dates and availability with the mayor and the council as well. And then just 2 smaller businesses that have opened, but very happy to have them. Bespoke Physical Therapy, Wellness and Performance over in the Westridge Office Center. And then also Resilience Health, which is a cloud telehealth type business that offers the space for your appointments. So a couple good things coming around, and overall really excited to see some of these restaurants begin to open up. Available for any questions.
Those first businesses you listed, were any of those looking at the QSR lots or inquiring?
The public house place?
No,
The Three Kings.
Three Kings or
Yes. They are looking at.
somebody a cafe?
Yeah, they were hoping to put it in the town, this area of town center if they could. They have talked with Mia Rose. They're not looking to lease out just yet, though. They typically are gonna wait till they have it mostly constructed before they start mapping out that first floor. Nonetheless, there is this property that's across the street from City Hall. There's a property on the backside near the retirement facility back there. And there's a couple parcels still remaining in town center. The ideal would be for her to be able to kind of come in and move into a space, but we'll have to learn more. We're gonna be meeting with her, but it does seem that she wants to open up some type of cafe. It does seem like they're not gonna wanna build. It's not that large of a business.
In the coffee place, is that where are they looking?
Exit 11 Coffee was looking at the space over where Wildwood Square, near the Wildwood Pub.
Out front?
Yeah, out front on the side where there is actually a second building planned at one
Right,
point.
right.
If this concept were to proceed, which it doesn't, we haven't gotten, too much follow-up on that after meeting with them. It would be the construction of a building adjacent to that building. So it pretty much replaced that spot. When we had talked to her though, they had not made contact with the owner of the plaza. So it would be quite a few pieces that would have to connect together nonetheless. The way that they structure that, development, it has two different checkout windows. So you have two different lanes you have to accommodate for, which practically takes over the back row of that parking lot. So we would need a traffic study if they were to proceed forward. And really, it seems like that may have been a little bit more difficult for that business owner. So now they're potentially gonna look at the spot across the street from the retirement home as well. But nonetheless, that one is still pretty far off, and it does seem like that is a smaller company that doesn't have necessarily like a big QSR chain that would come in and be able to do quite a few site improvements.
Okay. That other one, what's it, seven Brew? They go both in the same direction,
Yep,
so.
this one goes, it,
Yeah, I seen the little one down in
Yeah.
Eureka.
yep, it goes,
That photo man,
yeah, yeah. It goes different, directions. Opposite.
you're on my age.
Interesting. It's an interesting concept and it has worked. I mean, that's the thing, it's not undoable. We definitely would want some study into it, just to ensure it's safe. But at the end of the day, it does work in Eureka and those other
Yeah.
locations. But then again, I looked at a couple of those. The ingress and egress is a little different than what this would be. You practically have parking spaces overlapped with
Right.
your traffic lanes. So that's where it gets a little bit more confusing.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding the business update? All right, thank you very much. Moving on to ready for action items, review of potential use of utility vehicles, UTVs, and golf carts for public streets within the town center. So I'm guessing this is to Director Vunich.
I can introduce them.
Okay,
Mr.
that's
Vunish
fine.
did oversee it at Planning and Parks. The reason why, and I just wanted to start with the reason why this was included, and originally it was on the Ready for Action, but then the Planning and Parks Committee did rule on it. Doesn't mean we can't talk about it tonight, but we were trying to have an avenue for businesses to speak up for this item. They were one of the main drivers for the issue at both the Business Forum, our recent Route 66 meeting that we had. This issue came up a couple times with the business community. So we wanted to make sure we had a proper venue for them to be able to speak and provide comment on it. Nonetheless, we do not have any speakers tonight. And the Planning and Parks Committee did look at this. The Board of Public Safety looked at this back in 2019. The departments looked at this. The police have looked at this. It would be, obviously for an economic development side, there are benefits to commerce because you can have people that it just promotes a little bit more, shopping locally, bringing, business hopefully to the town center businesses. Nonetheless, when you stack it up against the potential dangers and just how you would be able to facilitate registering all these small vehicles and what the requirements would be for them, because they do need to be street legal. It added up to be just a little bit too difficult at this time, and currently it just doesn't seem like it's the best fit. So the Planning and Parks Committee endorsed the findings from both the police precinct, the fire district, and the department, saying that now is not the right time for something like this, and then table the matter for the time being. So
I think just to add to that, one of the things that came up in the discussion of this topic in the Planning and Parks meeting was the fact that the state of Missouri in the legislature right now, they're crafting legislation that would govern how these vehicles have to be basically equipped or outfitted, if you will, headlights, taillights, turn signals, safety features, that sort of thing. So that limits what we would be able to do here anyway, because we could very easily do some legislation regarding their use here in the city and then find out that it's obsolete because of the actions that are being taken down in Jefferson City. So is there anything you need us to do?
No, there's nothing tonight. If the committee wanted to just endorse the recommendation from Planning and Parks, that would be included. We're just, since it died, it's not going back.
Make a motion to endorse Planning and Parks.
So we'll have at least on the record that both committees reviewed it, and that's the reason why we wanted to have it, so the business side could.
So can I get a second to that motion by Councilmember Preston? Any discussion? Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, motion carries. Thank you. Next item, review and consideration of Route 66 Centennial promotion activities, community engagement initiatives, and related budget considerations.
Thank you, Chair. So wanted to give a quick update and kind of planning for Route 66, get feedback from the committee. We did have our Route 66 Business Roundtable in in February. Earlier this month, on February 10th, we had 15 businesses. Most of the restaurant owners in Wildwood were represented at the meeting, and all of them along Route 66 were here. There's about 15 businesses just along Route 66 itself. There were some really great ideas. We wanted to provide the committee tonight with some of those ideas, but also what we already have planned for the year. The idea, first and foremost, what we can do for relatively no change in what the cost would be is we have our Music on Main Summers concert series. We have a concert in July that we could have specially promoted as a Route 66 concert. Right now, the Wildwood Celebration Commission is considering whether or not to have, they're going in between the two, and Joe could speak on it a little bit further, but the Route 66, it's either gonna be Route 66 themed or some combination of Route 66 and America's 250th birthday. Nonetheless, we could celebrate that, commemorate it during that time as well. We do have a Route 66 scavenger hunt from an application that we had for the scavenger hunt for winter. It'll be along Route 66. We plan on getting that out in April, which will help people kind of go along the entirety of the stretch. And we're actually thinking about incorporating kind of a digital passport program with that too, that if we can figure it out within this new application, if there's a way to kind of track folks that use and maybe visit some of the businesses along Route 66, maybe there's some type of special promotion they can get from the businesses themselves, kind of like we've done in the past, but it would be a little bit more Route 66 focused. Nonetheless, that'll be out there and will be a scavenger hunt in and of itself, or it'll have some of that, the passport component to it. On top of that, we do have our Route 66 banners we already have in stock. We'll be putting those up along Manchester Road, probably for the majority of the summer, if I'm correct, Joe, that would be.
Actually, some of them.
There's still some up.
Yep, so, but we have to bring those down for the Veterans Day, and then we have, not Memorial Day, and then they'll go back up. So the idea would be, they're up, they will then be taken down for a short period for in respect of our Hometown Heroes program, and then they'll go back up over the summer months to kind of commemorate it. And then also wanted to add in the Cars movie night at Cars 2. We've already shown Cars 1. It'll be in conjunction with our back to school party. We do plan on showing Cars, the movie. It'll be a fun time. We did this last time. It had a great showing. I'd say about 500 residents came out to enjoy the show. And it will be at the same time of our back to school party. This is also something that we're trying to promote with other cities. Eureka and the City of Pacific are doing Cars 1, and then I believe Pacific's doing Cars 3. So all three together, it'll be 3 different weekends where these movies are showing at different communities, and we're gonna try to cross promote and make sure that we're scheduling it in a timely fashion. That said,
That particular.
for the concert with the music, with the movie, that is August 21st, 2026. If that'll be the same as back to school party, I wanna make sure that's clear, cause we'll still have all the, the jumping houses, things like that. This will just be in addition to it, another thing to have a little celebration for the kids. But that kind of lays the groundwork for what we have programmed in general, but also what we have budgeted in the current events budget. But the community did have a couple ideas we wanted to run by the committee tonight and just plan for them. We do have $10,000 budgeted for Route 66 specific activities this year. and the other events that were just mentioned were already budgeted under other accounts. So I wanted to point this out to try to see, and start getting committee feedback on what would be the best way to utilize these funds to help commemorate both Route 66, but also help support our businesses along the corridor, because it does seem like we have quite a bit of community buy-in to try to push some type of endeavor and initiative out. A couple ideas were a little bit out there. The trolley, one that was mentioned in here, not a bad idea on paper, but it would cost a good deal of money to run a trolley up and down Route 66. So I just wanted to point that out. Nonetheless, where we kind of had why that was brought up and some of the issues identified during the meeting was that Route 66, Wildwood's commerce along that corridor is somewhat spread out. You have one end, you have Chinooks Wildwood Crossing, and then you have on the other end, Big Chief. So along there, you have a couple pockets of commerce, but they're not necessarily packed in tightly together. So what we saw were a couple different businesses along the corridor that were all wanting to have, if we're gonna do something along Route 66 or have a special promotion along the road, they're gonna wanna be sure that they're included in some fashion, because they're gonna get the supplemental foot traffic. So that's where the trolley idea came in, is that, hey, how do we transport people along the corridor? Well, that is an idea. Nonetheless, that would be an expensive one. So wanted to point that out, but the other thing is there were some really great ideas that possibly could be accomplished. One is having the this is the big one, the large scale cruising nights in Wildwood, which would feature a business owner or business coming in and hosting the event. There's a couple different nodes we had in the presentation. We'd be happy to share. I did not include that tonight, so I do apologize. We can send that after the meeting, but a couple different nodes, if you will, along the main road, which would allow for different classic cars to come in and pretty much just show up and maybe even set up in a parking lot, or you potentially would have to close a portion of Manchester, which would produce some planning that we would need to put in for us. So that's why we're trying to get ahead of it. Is if this is something we're interested in, let's go ahead and start planning with the police and start getting things put together so that those types of events. Right now, it seems like the business community was talking. We're going to be holding a follow-up meeting with all of them to see if it's, is it something they do? One day we have a special event that is kind of focused in on it, or maybe they do a couple different events and they share the information with each other. That is where we get to the next item of cross promotion. A lot of these businesses, including, I know for a fact, the Good News Brewing, the Parkside Grill, the Porch, all they're planning on having their own special events commemorating Route 66. And the idea will be to have one dedicated page of the city website that has all of these events listed. And the idea would be to also have, this was the second thing we talked about with that, is that we're gonna have all those events listed in chronological order. Here's what you could do this year to commemorate Route 66 and get a deal. Also, businesses have been told and informed that they're a valid business in the city of Wildwood, have a license with the city, that if they have some type of promotion, a special product or a special service or a discount or a deal for Route 66, that the city could communicate that deal specifically on the city website or on social media. Typically, we don't promote specific deals or functions, but since this is a commemorative of Route 66, it kind of gives it that blanket to be able to be communicated from the city platform. So that is an opportunity that's not usually available to the business community, and we have offered that to them. We're planning on putting that alongside the webpage of the city's website. Wanted to point that out, and then there was also discussion about having, with these scavenger hunts, but having Route 66 specific memorabilia. We actually had a discussion, this is a really nice idea, with the hotel. They have a little lobby right now that the only thing they sell is like some postcards and keychains. It's nothing all too crazy, but they got a look at one of our Route 66 t-shirts, and it actually sparked a discussion, and now we have talked with them 2 times since to possibly have some of the city shirts. We're trying to figure out how legally we could do this, but have city shirts sold in their gift shop, and the city would practically just get its money back and then some for every shirt sold. It wouldn't be something we put too much effort for, but any extra stock that we have from our events that we hold, it would be a way to have a continuous stream in a storefront that would help sell that. So just a side activity that came from that. And then that is really the main crux of it, is somehow doing either a large single event or having multiple events. Obviously, if a business is having an event this year to commemorate Route 66, we're gonna be promoting that. And making sure we're getting the word out, try not to have our big events planned the same nights. Nonetheless, we wanted to get the committee's feedback on this concept for cruising nights and things along those lines. They're having like a dedicated event on top of what we already have planned for our normal events along in Village Green this year. We wanted to have this discussion now before we get too far into the planning process. And at that point, you know, we're already out the door making commitments to the business community.
I got a question. So this cruising, so you go from Schnucks out to, like the middle school up there? How are you gonna run that?
Actually, I think a nice concluding point would be Stonewall's Grove and the Wildwood Historical Society's facility. I think a good location would be Stonewall's Grove and the Wildwood Historical Society, their neighbors on Route 100, which is Route 66. So they could do a cruise basically from coming into Wildwood and out to there. And Stonewall's Grove is a fun place, so be a nice end to the route.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I think all that stuff sounds great. I just don't know that there's a lot that. Like I'm wondering if this should be something like if they put this cruise together or whatever, that's great and we can help support them, but I don't know that we have the wherewithal to set this whole thing up for them and how we would make that work. I think that's maybe my only concern. I mean, I'm all for celebrating Route 66 and I know we've got some money in the budget to do different things, but I think we wanna be careful and honest with our business community about the things that we can and can't do or whatever. I don't think we wanna overpromise stuff. You know, I know, you know, even like promoting stuff on the website is great, but I think we wanna be clear on what that actually means and what that traffic looks like, because what we don't wanna have happen is there be an expectation that the city's going to, you know, go all in on this stuff or whatever, and then it doesn't pan out, however that functions, and then that kind of falls back onto us. We just wanna, you know, I'm all for helping however we can, but I think we wanna be very cautious in how we do that.
And just as a aside to that, right now, what has been communicated, we haven't launched the actual page of the city website for the promotional piece, but the idea would be to be directly tied to Route 66, like the deal, or it would have to almost name it in the promotion. And then the other side of it would be, this will be up. Once your event's, if it's an event, once your event's done, it'll be removed from the webpage. And then also at the end of the year, that whole page will be closed. It'll kind of give a summary more of, hey, here's what happened, here was the history of it. But at that point, we would close down the webpage and it would not be an expectation moving forward.
I mean, it may be better, we may be better served, you know, putting out social media posts or something like that rather than putting a page on the website. I just don't know that anybody is gonna go to the city's website to find coupons for a business or whatever it's gonna be. Like that's, I doubt that very much.
I think the context, Mr. Farmer, was that if businesses are offering events, that we be that clearinghouse for those events. The components of assisting in sales or promotions, that was just kind of touched upon, and from the perspective of the Department of Planning and Parks, we don't really want to do that. We want to be that clearinghouse
Yeah.
for the events, so that if somebody says, I wonder what's going on tonight in Wildwood on Route 66, there's one place. And the businesses thought that was a great idea. They embraced that and said that would be perfect, because individually, we can only do ours or maybe our neighbors.
Right.
And businesses of Wildwood, which is kind of the impetus behind this, I don't think they have the wherewithal or the reach we do with our website, so.
Councilmember McCutcheon.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna do Route 66 and celebrating 250 years all within the Wildwood celebration. What happened with that?
That's still planned. That's still the theme, and have they decided on the theme 100% yet?
The Wildwood Celebration Commission at its upcoming meeting next Wednesday will be settling in on the theme for Celebrate Wildwood 2026. And Ms. McCutcheon, I think that'll be, the event itself will be the culmination of the anniversary celebration. We'll have a few things as we move into October. We have the Shivering Shadows, and there's gonna be a haunted tour. Supposedly a couple of the businesses along old Route 66 are haunted. So there's gonna be little things like that the businesses do. Culmination will be our event.
And so all these activities that you've been talking about, are they asking for any funding from the city?
That's other than right now, for Celebrate Wildwood, that's separate. It includes Route 66 because we're kind of tying it in and making that the general theme. What is being asked tonight is, right now, the business community is gonna be doing quite a few of these things themselves. But if it's a cruise, and there's two different definitions of a cruise. One is you get a group of individuals together and they drive down Manchester Road. That's a lot less interruptive, if you will, than you might need to close Manchester Road if you're gonna have a parade, if you will. That will cost money, and that's something that no one could put on other than the city. It wouldn't be I guess that business could get a permit for that, but it would require a great deal of police presence and coordination, which I mean, unless Joe, you have one in mind, I don't know if for closing the road, I don't think a business could pull that off.
I think Mr. Lee and I concurred, closing Manchester Road based upon our experience from the parade last September is something we probably don't want to do. But I think Mr. Lee did a very good job of identifying that. We've had volunteers at the porch, JB Wellness, talk about having a node there where they kind of celebrate one night, Route 66, cars can park in the parking spaces and the parking lots of the businesses. Then we move down west to Good News Brewing, which has ample parking. And we go down to Big Chief Roadhouse. And the fourth one, which is, we haven't really explored that, would be Stovall's Grove, which has the great grove out next to the town.
Larry's on the stop.
Well, we talked about Larry's and there was a general feeling we probably should move a little further west first.
Okay, here's the question.
Is this a designated night to do all these?
That's what we're working to confirm, and if there's an endorsement from the committee tonight, not necessarily, the city planning these massive events, but more so helping coordinate and putting staff time towards them. It's not, planning a large closure of Manchester Road and having the cruising night, but the city being kind of a nexus, promoting some of these things, and then also making contact or getting people in contact with the right groups. I know we've been gotten a couple pieces of contact information for some of these classic car community groups, just so they could have the opportunity to come. Maybe they park at, like Joe had mentioned, they park at Good News, they go to the porch, some other areas. We're trying to make it so it seems like there is at least one unit, like Joe said, a clearinghouse for some of this information, but not necessarily having the city have its name on the event, other than Celebrate Wildwood and Music on Main, those that are dedicated to the purpose. So right now, overall, it would be, does the committee support that effort, or should we, kind of pull it back, maybe not have as much on that website? I think right now we're heading in the right
Maybe
direction.
another idea would be to have individual nights at these places,
Yeah.
like the Good News. And the Big Chief, they just had their 90th a couple years ago. And they could do something similar there and have a big crowd, and they had the police there parking people at the school across the street and everything. That was, I went to that. That was a very successful event for them.
That's kind of the plan right now is, right, with those businesses, they may originally, before we started having these talks, they all did have soft plans to do something this year to commemorate Route
Okay.
66, but no one really knew when the other businesses were doing it. It was all kind of out there, thrown about, if you will, instead of having it all kind of on a timeline and a dedicated forum where this is where that webpage comes in. Like, if you want to know when the Route 66 events are happening, it's not necessarily the city hosting it, but here's a bunch of events that are happening over the summer. It's usually going to be over the summer, and it will be,
Sure.
Good News is having this special Route 66 event on Saturday. The porch is then having a special tasting on that following Tuesday. It'll kind of just list it out, and then it'll also include the city's events that are going to be
Okay.
themed for Route 66 as well.
Sounds good.
Councilmember Farmer.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess if you're looking for a motion, I think that stuff is probably good. They're not really asking for any budget, right? I mean, it's not actual money. But I do think that this is maybe a good opportunity to do one of these events and really try to pay close attention to how much staff time we're putting into it, because this is kind of one of those things where it appears to be free, but it is not. And so, I just think I'm not saying we shouldn't help. I just think it's important to note whatever time we're spending. So if we can coordinate that and smooth that out a little bit better, great. But I just, I don't, we had, it's a different group of people and everything else, but we had a similar experience with the Christmas thing where that started off as something and then became something quite different very quickly. And so we just wanna I would suggest we wanna try to avoid a repeat of that where it defaults to becoming a city event because we've put ourselves out there to a point where we can't bring it back. So I'm happy to make a motion to proceed with what you guys are saying. I would just encourage you to keep track of what that is. And, I don't know if we wanna put a limit, I don't know how you guys wanna do it, if you wanna put a limit on the hours or something so that we
Why
have.
can't we just have volunteers? I'd volunteer to help. A lot of council members would. You got people on commissions. I mean, we could tap into those folks. I mean, I'd be happy to volunteer. And I think a lot of us would be.
Rather than
Spouses.
staff, right?
Well, you have to figure out how much minimum staff maybe and figure it out, but if there's things that volunteers can do, that frees up staff. I think you can get a lot of volunteers if you want us to help.
The Historic Preservation Commission is front and center on all
Yeah.
of this, and they've made a commitment to help out with many of these events over the course of the celebrations.
But we don't wanna overburden staff, but I
You want that?
think there's a lot of volunteers out there if you ask. And spouses and make it work.
How many hours do you think of staff time do you think that will take?
So it depends. I mean, we're gonna already have our events, so if you're already throwing the music on Main and you're already taking into account that staff time, that's a big difference. Really where this staff time comes in is meeting with the businesses, helping plan, expediting a permit if they need a permit. Usually they won't need that. So it should be pretty minimal, other than posting things on the website. But if the city were to get more involved or have to host an event itself, a branded, full-on city event, then we're talking that number of hours goes up substantially. I would say right now, though, you could spend 30 to 40 hours putting this type of working on this from one employee.
But the city's not actually holding an event or funding an event.
Other than what we already have, like we have the Music on Main concert, the back to school party, and we have our not Route 66, our Celebrate Wildwood event. Those were already planned, those were already locked in. We're just kind of throwing the Route 66 banner on them and saying they're also celebrating Route 66 because it's the theme. There are no special outside of those events that have been scheduled for Route 66 that the city would be funding.
But you got
So-
$10,000
There is 10,000 to assist.
in use discretion.
Yes.
So Councilmember Farmer, your motion is for the city to proceed as roughly outlined by Mr. Lemire.
Sure.
Okay, do I have a second to that? Councilmember Albers, Director Vonage.
Just a curious thing that came out of the roundtable. I think Bob and I had talked about it. The restaurant tours said that please don't hold them on Friday and Saturday night. That's when we make our money.
Mhm.
And so we have to look at alternatives in terms of days and times. A few of them even mentioned having something in like late afternoon. So as to basically fill their lull with the event and then be able to move on back to their brick and mortar. But it was kind of interesting to hear their perspective. Because obviously they're gonna they wanna spend their time inside their restaurants making money with their customers. So we'll see. There's a lot of open questions. We're going to meet again with the roundtable participants at the end of March and hopefully kind of coalesce it all together. And hopefully, Tom will have something back to you all to let you know what we settled on.
Well, if you move
Yeah.
on with the trolley idea. Good, okay, because we did that for city council once for Wildwood Celebration. Nobody could see us, we couldn't see anybody because the windows were black. So if you get a trolley, you can get one that's open, just FYI.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, those are, we entertain and we want to welcome those types of ideas from the business community for sure. But the thing is, I mean, looking into it, you know, that cost that I put in there, that was for one day. So I mean, if you did cruising nights and it was like once a month that you were celebrating Route 66, I mean, you could easily spend $50,000 on a trolley. It just gets pretty expensive pretty quickly. Nonetheless, that part, it was kind of on the far-fetched side, but there are some things I think that can be done to help show the business community. This could kind of be the focus, especially for this committee, to show the business community we're, you know, helping them, because the businesses that even are not located off Route 66, they were in attendance and they were making the case that, you know, maybe this will bring some additional traffic out west. You know, with folks just going along Route 66 to check things out, especially if there's events. It seems like we'll have a little bit more events going on out here in Pacific and Eureka specifically than some of the other areas. It doesn't seem like they're promoting them as much.
Other questions? Discussion. All right, we have a motion. We have a second.
Good job.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, motion carries. Thank you. That brings us to item C, conceptual framework for activating Village Green through community-led Bring Your Blank programming.
Yeah, sorry to leave it open-ended there. This is a fun idea. Actually, I like this one quite a bit. Department likes this one. We were thinking and having some discussions internally. I will say this is pretty recent that we had this kind of finding. We have a year practically where we're gonna have our open space here at Celebrate, our open meeting space here. And we're not gonna have the playground built just yet. Eventually, construction will start taking place. Nonetheless, the idea is how can we start incorporating, once its grand opening occurs in April of 2026, how can we begin to start incorporating our main meeting space and start getting folks familiar with it? Right now, I mean, we will, just if folks are listening, they should not be going on the Village Green yet. It is not open. We do see it every now and then though, where someone will trespass onto it. It is an active construction site, so we do ask that people treat it that way. Nonetheless, you know, this is supposed to be our main meeting ground, our primary park. Obviously, community park, I still think is probably getting the most traffic to date on a day-to-day basis. So the idea would be, how can we start getting folks to realize, hey, there's this new space over here. Right now, it's really an open park, so it's a great place to go if you're just walking your dog, or if you're taking a walk with your family, or you're reading a book. Once the playground opens, that might change a bit because you'll have a little bit more loud activities. But some of these activities that we outlined in the memorandum tonight actually could be, you know, incorporated. Maybe it's something where we allow the park to be open a little bit later for a night. If there's a resident that's overseeing the event, we do have event partnership agreements that we don't pay anything, but they just pretty much have to show that they have liability. So they can access public property at night or during the day. That also allows us to run through whether or not police may be needed. Usually it won't if it's just a large book group. But the idea is, how can we start really bringing attention to the Village Green area and start seeing groups of folks here so they can start spreading the word of this really awesome area. And then the hope is they then talk about, oh, the Village Green playground is going to be coming in. We want to help support that. The whole idea is, once this thing's open, you know, folks will be coming here day in and day out. The hope is, and then also, how can we bring some more people here that may not be following us on social media? They may not be, you know, checking the website vigilantly. They may not live right next to us, but they live in the western portion of Wildwood. They go to community park. They just don't know that the Village Green's being created. We wanted folks to discover the Village Green and then hopefully then shop at some of the businesses outside of it. So the idea is, maybe we could incorporate some very non-staff oriented, but different types of events that are more so we promote it. We maybe find a resident volunteer that would oversee, you know, kind of the activity that takes place, but some quirky, fun ideas for bringing people together at the park. Some of those ideas, I'll just go through a couple, you know, like bring your lunch Wednesdays. Maybe it's something where if you work in Wildwood, you work in the downtown area. We want you to come work and come eat your lunch here at the Village Green, you know, grab a picnic blanket and have a little lunch while you're seeing the scenic. I mean, it's very nice. Some of our, I know some of our employees go out there and just walk around the circle when they can and do some inspections while they're doing it. Nonetheless, killing two birds with one stone. Nonetheless, it's idea too, where I've talked to two different businesses now where they would actually be willing, if someone was mentioned that or brought it up, they would offer specials that could coincide with that, hey, you're going to the lunch on the green, I'll give you a 25% discount on the takeout. So there's been a couple food restaurants that would be very interested in doing this. I think that could be a fun way to get folks that, one of the bigger issues that we have in the city is that we have they call it a bedroom community, but a lot of the residents do leave the city and they go into the city each day, the city of St. Louis, and then they come back at night. So really, it's been trying to figure out what do those folks do on their way home or to work that can capitalize on that traffic. And for the folks that are here, how can we get those people to come out, maybe, traffic some of the area in town center, maybe give them a reason to come closer to the city hall and learn more about the city too. Couple other ideas. It's just one, having, special coffee mornings, hey, we're not necessarily gonna buy the coffee, but maybe it's a partnership with Starbucks or Panera. Go grab your coffee and meet us on the green. It's just time to mingle with different residents and have some, really just community. Book clubs or bringing a book, having like a book night or a book day where folks that may be retired or maybe be off for, the spring break or something along those lines, able to come up. It's already a quiet vista at this point, as long as construction isn't occurring, which could be at any point, but we'd be able to plan for that. That you bring your book, you set up, and it's really like a picnic type situation. Sketchbooks, bringing your sketchbook, having different drawing competitions, bring your yoga mat, having some events where not necessarily events, but just activities where folks can come out, get active, and get to know some of the other folks in the community. The idea here is that hopefully we could have like a resident liaison for each one of these things. The bring your lunch one's a little different, but book club idea, sketchbooks, yoga, having a resident that's really into that concept and saying, hey, we want you to take advantage of the space. And then hopefully they can just start guiding, the activity. We would get to know them and make sure that they're, running it properly. But this would be something that staff could kind of take a step back, other than, putting promo out on social media, including it in the e-newsletter, having it on social media. But it kind of takes a situation right now where we have this really awesome open space. But right now we don't have the playground there just yet. Eventually there'll be park benches, there'll be some trash receptacles. But it's really a lot of the work that was in phase one was utility installation. That was the phase that needed to be done. This makes it so it doesn't necessarily, it's not an empty space. You can fill it with community, and you're taking books, you're having different types of activities that fill it, on any given day. Obviously it wouldn't close the park to anybody else. But the idea is to start setting up some of these things so that people just start flowing in, whether it's, you read books, you want to go down there and read books, that's fine. But maybe you do start making it your average space on a Wednesday to go eat lunch. Or maybe it's one of the board game evening where, you set up a small table and folks can come out and play board games with their family out there. This is something that I think would actually be helpful, and we would try a bunch, we'd just kind of float a bunch out there, see which residents are interested. And then quite frankly, the hope is we would then start seeing certain residents say, hey, this is a really cool event. I want to help, figure this out for you too. That's then we would start establishing, 2 or 3 that are actually popular and folks really seem to like and coalesce around. And at that point, those are our winners. We can include those moving forward. But the idea is to at least get something out there and start it, because without that, we'll have our events, we'll have our grand opening, but during the day-to-day, if someone's not just walking through it, I want to make sure that we're giving purpose for the folks that would be a reason to come down here and start checking out the space. But there's plenty of other ideas in there too. One's looking at the, sunset, bring a blanket out, watch the sunset. We could have a telescope out there, if residents and enthusiasts, and astronomy and whatnot. There are a lot of different ideas, and this has worked in other communities as well, where they don't run an event, they don't host an event and provide, food, drink, police service, et cetera, but it's more so they will offer the ability for them to use the space for a certain reason, and just the city promoting it and putting it under a banner of, hey, this Friday, bring your board games to, the Village Green area with your family. It'll be open an hour late this Friday. Something like that is usually able to convince quite a few people to come down. It's worked pretty well in some other communities, and the idea would be to start working on that after we have a grand opening, but start sprinkling them in now and doing some promotions for this Bring Your program. but happy to hear some feedback tonight or any questions. Yes.
But
Have we or I guess I had two thoughts. One, I'm sure, I've been out there, I guess, a few times, but I'm sure maybe some of us been out to Cottleville. For their kind of, they've got a space
Yep,
that's similar to
Frank
that,
Park.
where like, yeah, outside of BMO's there and,
Yep.
it might be a decent thing, having like a food truck day or something like that, if
That's-
we've got the parking for it. I mean, that's an easy draw to bring people of all ages in and just, have, as little as like throwing a ball around the park there for people or just something to draw them in. Another thing, that our school does often is, like food fundraisers where you could say, incorporate a local business and maybe they can be the sponsor or the person who wants to offer the food, but offers some sort of deal that like, hey, come enjoy a meal here, 25% of proceeds go to the school. And it can be held at the Village Green there, just so people get familiarized with it. You could do that during the day. And you could offer to all the local schools here and different grades to come each day to really kind of have an ongoing thing of it. So.
Those are great ideas. And the food truck, that part, I've actually seen Frankie's.
That's
Market.
real popular out there. I
It
mean,
is.
I've been out there, albeit probably a year and a half ago, but I mean, there were probably 500 people there.
Yeah, and I mean, and I know they have for that location, they have that, like it's like a bar kind of thing that's kind of in the back
Yeah,
there.
there's like that old like whiskey.
Yeah,
guy.
yes.
Yeah, there's that. I mean,
But it's not, it's not much though. It's just really it's fake grass out there.
Yeah,
But
it's
then
fake grass,
really,
sure.
they fill up those food trucks and it just attracts people because people know there's food trucks there on a certain day. That said, I think those, and looking it up, those food trucks aren't there all day. They come at specific times and dates at night.
yeah.
So it'd be similar to this, like, hey, there's food trucks coming up on a Thursday night, from 4 PM to 6 PM.
They do
would
that
be-
like all summer. They have a season for it out there where they do it almost every week, I think. So.
And then just a heads up too, and I want to give kudos to our parks team. Since we're having to get creative here for the food situation at Music on Main, we were actually able to secure the food truck, not the food truck, but Chick-fil-A to come out and have their stand for Music on Main, which is gonna be pretty big. It's good to have as a supplement to what else will be offered there. So nonetheless, that could be something that Chick-fil-A comes out even on a given Friday. If we can show, and that kind of idea is to bring, some traffic here to see how many people we could get at the Village Green on a non-event night.
Yeah.
And then sell that idea, hey, come to the Village Green, because food trucks, I will mention that they need like a guarantee that there's gonna be a certain number of people. We've had some food trucks even kind of scoff at our Music on Main concerts until they come here. The Goat has come here multiple times. They've always responded that, hey, it's a great time. They had mentioned that you guys give free food, which competes with them, but nonetheless, it seems like they've been successful, but they didn't necessarily believe that at first. They're like, how many people are really there? And sometimes you get a food truck out here, they see it once, and then they're willing to come out more.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea. If we can start getting those types of components, I think we slowly start building up. If we can get a food truck there on a given Saturday, I think that's a huge win for the city.
Councilmember Olivers?
Yes, so I had a couple things. Your Gazette will be coming out before elections, right?
Week before the election.
So maybe load it up with whatever you want to say about that in the Gazette. All these things you're
Yeah.
trying to encourage, put it in the Gazette. I can talk like with Jill at Wildwood Yoga. We could schedule a senior yoga class over there. And, that'd bring 30 or 40 people up to that park that may have no idea that it's there or what it's about. And that's what you're trying to encourage
Yeah.
people that to come and experience it once and, and see what it's about and see what it's going to be about even further, right? And then I've just, the first scheduled event is the first concert then? Or
That
would it be
Well, actually, the spring egg hunt that we're gonna have here very
egg
soon.
hunt? And then concert, or would it be farmer's market? Or, either or, yeah.
Spring Eight Hunt is the first, March 28th. Then we have the opening
Good name
at the end of April, and then the concert, first concert in May.
Okay.
Actually, the market manager has asked that she can stay up on Plaza Drive or the market because
We
she's
should do
supposed to
something out of it.
visibility.
Oh, it's gonna stay over there?
Do it,
Oh. But you originally were saying here, right?
Yes, we had offered it to her, but she believes that
You
being
can do that.
down below Route 100, she'll lose that visibility that's helped the vendors over the years.
That's a good idea.
Uh,
Councilmember McCutcheon.
Yeah, I think we should partner with parents as teachers from Rockwood School District. Have story time, and they usually have an activity with the story time. You're gonna get a lot of parents and kids for that. Cause they're gonna bring their own group and then we can advertise it. Story times are awesome. And a lot of parents with kids come, so
Do they do that during school hours or after, like at?
they do both.
Years ago at Anniversary Park, we'd have a local celebrity come out and read the book. And we'd get kids from about 2 to 5, the preschoolers that weren't necessarily in a structured program. We'd fill Anniversary Park with them.
Yeah, like have a fireman come in, a policeman come in,
Exactly.
you know, to read stories and it. I'm even just if you don't even have someone like that, just story time with a theme. I mean,
Yeah, that's the thing, it's almost like, and that, these are great ideas, if anybody else has like you'd mentioned the Wildwood Yoga having parents as teachers, that's what we really wanted to bring this up to. Also, seeing if this is something we should be investing time in, but really getting, as many organizations aware of the space, that it is available to the public, and then having them, if you throw a theme on something, it typically, you start seeing people come together and coalesce around it. Whereas if it's just Friday night and you don't say anything and it just